right, hello. Get myself situated here. All right, welcome. Happy Tuesday. The sun is shining here. It's cold, but it looks gorgeous outside. Today, we are talking about preparing for a new season. So, spring is just around the corner. It may be starting to feel like spring where you live, or maybe not quite yet, or maybe you live somewhere where it's beautiful all the time. Either way, I like to use seasons as a reminder for us to kind of look at what's going on in our lives, what's most important to us in this season, and get clear on that and make a plan for it. So that's what we're doing today. And I really think that this is so important because it's really easy for us to get caught up in our day-to-day lives, in our busyness, in what other people are asking of us, things that are popping up here and there. And even if we start out with an intention and a plan, it's easy for us to get distracted and for our plan to kind of be hijacked by other things that are going on. So I love having these natural touch points where we can come back and kind of reevaluate and get ourselves back together. And I also really love going into this topic because our lives are not the same for very long, especially if you are a mom, if you are a business owner, and of course we have other things going on in our lives too. Like things change pretty drastically from season to season. You know, summer when the kids are home is way different than fall when they go back to school. Holiday time is way different from the spring, right? And so we need to kind of shift our priorities and shift our plans to match the changes that are happening around us and to really be able to enjoy the differences between those seasons of the year and the seasons of our lives. We don't want to just kind of be muddling through and having those things feel like an inconvenience to us. We want to be able to make the most of the time that we have. And so that's the goal here today. I'm going to be sharing an exercise with you that will help you plan out the big picture of this next spring season so that you have a little more clarity about what you want your days and weeks to look like. And I'm going to help you make sure that your plan includes things that you're actually looking forward to and that you want to do, not just the things that you see glaring at you from your calendar, right? So if you don't know me, hello, I'm Jenna. My company is J-Lane Virtual Solutions, and I help you spend less time on the must-dos and create more time for joy through simple systems and rhythms for both your home and your business. Because if you're working from home, your home and your business have to be able to coexist and to support each other rather than competing against each other. And we also want to make sure that you're not putting all of your time and energy into just keeping things running, just keeping the boat afloat, right? We can do more than that. So right now we are coming into spring season. I don't think I've put it on my Facebook page. I had an Instagram reel about my chickens finally starting to lay eggs again. The sun is shining, although there was a dusting of snow on the ground this morning. So things are kind of up and down here. We've had some 70-degree days. We've had some 30-degree days. So we are in that kind of in-between time. But every time it starts to tease us with a little bit of warm weather and we start to get more sunshine, I get super excited. I start to feel very optimistic and hopeful again because I am a warm weather girl. I am originally from Florida, so cold weather, not really my jam. I love summertime and I love spring because it lets me know summer is coming. And we also get a lot of really beautiful flowers and birds are coming back and stuff like that in springtime. So really, it just feels like I am coming back to life as the nature outside is starting to come back to life too. So we're talking about the idea of seasonal shifts. I would love for you to tell me in the comments if you're watching either live or on the replay where you are, what is springtime like for you? And hey, your favorite season, if you want to share it. Pop that in there too. But we're talking about this seasonal shift because, like I mentioned, our lives are always changing. Whether you're thinking about yourself, your kids, your business, the priorities and the goals and the schedules and the needs are constantly shifting. There is no, like, this is what I do every day. This is what I do every week, all year long. That's not a real thing, really, for pretty much any of us, I don't think. And so when we can accept the fact that there is no super constant, that things are always shifting and ebbing and flowing, we can work with that. We can embrace it and we can create plans that allow for flexibility, and we can revisit them and change them when we need to. So one of my values is a connection to nature and to the world outside of my window and away from my computer screen. And so this is one of the reasons that I really love using the seasons of nature as a checkpoint to guide my own priorities and plans. And even if nature isn't your thing, having these kind of touch points throughout the year to check in with what's going on in our lives, what's coming up around the corner, how we can prepare for it, and where our time and energy is best spent can be a really valuable exercise and really allow us to have more intention and feel more in control of what's happening on a day-to-day basis. So my goal for you today is really just to take this time and maybe a little bit of reflection time after or this evening to think about the coming season. What's coming up for you? What's coming up for your family? What is coming up for your business? Do you have launches, goals, events coming up that you're getting ready for, that you're looking forward to? And how might your buckets and your priorities be shifting? How might spring look different for you than winter did? I also am going to guide you through what you're looking forward to, what's the most important to you, how to align your plan with your values a little bit this week, and then how can you plan for it? Once you decide what you want to do, how can you put it into a structure so that it will actually happen? So if you have pen and paper or open up a Google Doc or something, I'm going to walk through 3 sort of little exercises to kind of list things out, just kind of start brainstorming some things here. And we're going to start with a fun one. So the first thing that I want you to think about is, what do you love about spring? There's something that we can enjoy and embrace about every season, right? And ever since my kids were little, like toddlers, we have always sat down when school lets out or when the season starts to change, and we make together a summer fun list. We list out things that we want to do, and they decorate it, they color it, they put stickers on it, stuff like that. That has been a tradition for us for a long time, but I've really started to incorporate this, at least for myself, into all the seasons. And so I actually worked on mine the other day. Thought I would share a couple things from you. Maybe it'll spark some ideas in your head. And please share 1 or 2 things that you really love about spring that you're really looking forward to in the comments too. So one of mine is seeing the first robins of the year, which actually happened a week or 2 ago. And I smile. I was driving to my pottery class and I drove past a farm field and there were like 6 robins and I smiled so big. I was so happy because to me that is like, that's it. That means spring's coming. It's like the official start for me, whatever the calendar says. In our backyard and around too, but we get a ton of daffodils and a ton of forsythia that bloom, and so I call it yellow time. That has not happened yet. It'll probably be coming up in a few weeks here, but I love seeing all the bright colors outside of my window, bringing in some of those flowers into the house. One of my favorite days of the year is plant shopping day. I usually do this around Mother's Day when I go to my favorite local nursery and I buy the plants for my garden for the year. We're going to be getting chicks this year, I think, again. So that will be an exciting thing. And then another tradition that we like to do is on or around Easter, going out as a family and doing a Signs of Spring hike and going to one of the trails near where we live and just looking, really hunting and searching for little shoots of plants that are coming up, flower buds, nests, all of those fun springy things. So those are some of the things on my list. I would love to hear some of what's coming up for you too. And so take a moment, jot some of those down, leave some space so that you can add to it later as new ideas pop into your head. And then the next thing that we are going to list out, brainstorm, think about are what activities do you already know are coming up? What are things that are on the agenda or on your schedule that you know are going to take some of the time and energy? These can be things that are still very enjoyable, or they can sometimes be those things that you're like, well, this is on the calendar, it has to happen. You can question that, but sometimes there are things that we know are coming that we're maybe not like 100% excited about, right? So some different areas that you might think about here is family stuff. So for us, spring means Little League season, which since we have 2 boys that are both playing Little League now, means that there are 4 baseball games a week for 2.5 or so months. So we spend a lot of time at the ball field. Do I love being at the ball field all the time? Not always, but I know that it's coming. And for me, what that means, actually, I'm going to save this for the next step. But so we have Little League coming up. In terms of your business, do you have launches, new programs, events, anything like that coming up that's on your calendar that you want to be planning and preparing for? So for me, I am planning to do a free workshop in May, which I'm really excited about, helping you prepare, while we're on the seasonal note, helping you prepare for summer. So preparing your business so that you can take time off, and then preparing your home and your family for travel and things like that during the summertime. It's going to be a really fun workshop with just like tons and tons of really tangible, helpful resources. So that's something that's on my radar. So if the training's happening in April, I know that I'm going to be promoting, or the training's happening in May, I know I'm going to be promoting it in April. So I'm going to need to start thinking about it pretty soon, right? Do you have any travel coming up that you'll need to prepare for in the next few months? Are there activities that you or your spouse are involved in, right? Is fishing season going to be starting soon and your partner might be out fishing, or you might be out fishing? I play in a women's flag football league and our games start in May. So that's something that about halfway through the spring is going to be taking up some of my time as well in a fun way. So list some of those things out. What do you know is coming up? Look at your calendar if you have it handy, if you have some of those things already plugged in there, and kind of just get a feel for where your time and energy are going to be going. Because what this is going to help you to do when you combine the things that you want to do for fun that you're really excited about and the things that are coming up, whether you're excited about them or not, is you might see some common themes and patterns, and that is what we're going to use to help create your buckets and your priority areas for the coming season. So I just want to pop in, see, all right, seeing if there were any comments. So several weeks ago, I will try to find the link for it, but I did a live on sort of identifying your main buckets. I believe it's on the blog as well. If you want to find it there at jlanevirtual.com, you'll see the blog. And the idea is that we can't do everything all at once, So we need to pick the sort of big picture areas that we want to focus on and decide how much of our time and energy we want to give to each of those buckets, right? So as you're looking at the things that you've already listed out, you might see some common threads that give you clues as to what those buckets and what your priorities are going to be. So I tend to experience shifts both in my energy and my priorities from winter to spring. For my business, fall and winter tend to be the times where I'm looking more at my growth, I'm trying new things, I'm reflecting, I'm setting new goals, whereas spring and summer go a little more into maintenance mode because I know that family activities are going to ramp up, and I know that when the weather's nice, I want to spend more time outside. I don't want to be at my computer quite so much. I want to have flexibility to travel and take vacations. My dog is having a dream and making really crazy noises right now. And so I know that that shifts for me, right? So in the winter time, my buckets maybe don't change a bunch, but the focus for each of them kind of does. So for me, my buckets are things like my family. That includes my kids, that includes my relationship with my husband, as well as relationships with my other family, my parents, my sister, my in-laws, all of these people, my family bucket. During the winter, that tends to be very holiday and celebration focused. We have birthdays, we have Christmas, we have all the things, right? In the summertime, it tends to be more recreation focused. It shifts more toward the kids' activities and figuring out how we can still spend time together around those and how we can spend time outdoors as a family. Another one of my buckets is my business. I kind of just touched on how that shifts for me. One of my buckets is health and wellness, which is me taking care of myself so that I can do all those other things. And one of the things that I love about spring and summer is that I become naturally more active by being outside. So the time that I spend may not be different, but the type of activities I'm doing shifts a little bit. And then my fourth bucket is stuff for myself, things that I do for my own enjoyment. So my pottery class is one of those things. Like I mentioned, flag football season starting up comes in the spring and the summer. And then the other that really starts to take hold in the spring for me is that connection to nature, and specifically like a connection to where our food comes from. I'm going to talk about this one more in the live next week. I'm going to be talking more about how we align our time and our values. But I feel really strongly and feel really satisfied by eating locally when we can. And so in the spring, as the farmers market opens and our local farms start producing and I start planting my own garden, that really comes back to life for me. And it's something that I enjoy a lot, but it also takes a lot of time and energy. So it's something that needs to be planned for. So some of these are going to be the same for you. Some of these are going to be different. We're probably all going to have family, business, self, and then filling in what else is going on for you based on what is coming around the corner. Now, once you kind of have those priority areas defined, the next piece is deciding how much time you want or need to devote to each one. Some things we don't have a ton of control over, right? Like when it comes to the kids' Little League, I have control over the fact that my husband and I chose to sign them up for Little League. We don't have control over when their games take place. But we do have control over how we manage that. We tend to do a lot of divide and conquer with the sporting events. Sometimes we all go as a family, but when you're having 4 games a week, sometimes mom takes one kid, dad takes one kid. So we do have some choice there as to how it fits into our schedule and how much time each one of us is dedicating to that particular activity. So when you're looking at your your time, just look for those areas where you do have choice and where there is flexibility, because that's where you get to decide how much time you're putting in and how, right? And then once you kind of have an idea of your time, that's when we start fitting it into your days and your weeks. And that gets a little more in depth than I'm going to go into today. If you want to do this in a really visual way where you can drag and drop things and move them and play around with your schedule, which is just like one of my favorite pastimes, sadly, I have a free Trello template available that you can use to do it. Trello is a project management tool. You can use it for free. And I will pop the link in the comments. This template is actually the one that I use in my own business every single day. But you can also adapt it to use it for your home life as well. So I hope that this exercise has been helpful in, number one, getting you excited about spring. It is like the time of rejuvenation and re-energizing and all of those good things, and finding things that you are really looking forward to that you can put on your calendar. We all need something to look forward to. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind of, getting kids to school, working, cooking dinner, going to bed. We have got to have things on the calendar that we are excited for. So I hope you came up with a couple of those things at least. You also are looking ahead to what's on the horizon for the next 3 months, what's on your calendar, what's in your plans, and how do all of those fit together? What are the common threads, and what clues can those lists give you about your priority areas for the spring season? And just because something is not a priority for you this season doesn't mean that it's not important to you, doesn't mean that it's not a part of your life. But like I said before, we can't do everything all the time. So this exercise is really meant to help you get some more clarity on where you want to focus your attention and what pieces of that are the most important to you right now. Okay? If you don't do it right now, it'll still be there. You can come back to it, right? So next week, I am going to kind of expand on this topic a little bit more and talk about how we can align our time and our values. This is something that I mention pretty often, but it's really been on my mind lately as I've been planning out my own spring season and thinking about some things I did or didn't do last year that I'd like to be different this year. And so I want to share a little bit more on that with you next week. And I also want to invite you to talk with me more. If you're feeling like you are ready to take spring on and make it the season where you feel like you come back to life, where you have more energy, where you're doing things that you enjoy, where things are flowing more smoothly. One of my superpowers is taking a jumbled mass of thoughts and ideas and plans and projects that are in someone's head and pulling them out and creating a structure around them so that you can actually use it and actually follow through on your plans and your goals. And I would love to help you do that, because sometimes we have so many ideas bouncing around our heads. Like maybe you're looking at these lists you wrote right now and being like, okay, there it is. Like, I don't know how to make sense of this. Where do I go from here? It can be hard to pull it out yourself and figure out what those things are that you should really be focusing on right now. And I can help you get more clear on where you want to focus that attention in this season and how you can create a structure and a plan to actually make it happen. So I offer free 45-minute sessions where we'll talk about just this. What do you want to get out of your spring season? What's one thing that you really want to make sure is going to happen? And how can we build that into your plan and make sure that it actually does? All right, so that call is in the comments. I would love to talk to you. I would love for you to share whatever you want in the comments or send me a DM about what's coming up for you this spring. Just one of the best times of the year. So thank you for spending a little time with me today. I will see you next week. Bye.